Elizabeth, here is what I tell my clients. The difference between buying a house and building wealth through real estate comes down to how you manage your money from day one, from day to day, intentionally.
Yes.
Do you
Yes,
agree with that?
absolutely.
And what does that look like, managing money intentionally for real estate?
I agree 100%. I would talk about it in the style of do's and don'ts. So when it comes to that, I would say don't, if you are trying to build wealth through real estate, just buy any house that you think, oh, I'm just going to stay here and relax and whatever happens, happens. Don't go about it the way that most people go about it, which would be, oh, I'm just trying to find a home to raise a family in, and then the end. Do have a plan with what is the purpose of this purchase. A lot of times when you're trying to grow something, it's always great to start small and with the mindset of like, okay, I'm going to live in this house for this amount of time. And during that time, I'm going to be taking the steps necessary to grow my real estate portfolio.
Welcome to Today, Plan Tomorrow. I am Auntie Poluka with Hand in Hand Consulting. And this is where we talk about money, not just the math, but the mindset, the habits, and the heart behind how we steward what we've already been given. Today, I'm
Mm.
sitting with Elizabeth Oluwakemi, a real estate expert who's helping people navigate the do's and the don'ts of home buying and selling in today's market. We're talking about buy, how to get pre-approved and qualify for programs that work for you. Build, what escrow and title really mean and how to protect your investment. Bounce, how to build equity and leverage it to create generational wealth. If you're thinking about buying your first home or your second, selling a property, or building wealth through real estate, this conversation is for you. Elizabeth, welcome to the podcast. Let's talk about how to
Thank you so
buy,
much.
build, and bounce.
Thank you. Thank you, Auntie Faluka. It's so great to be here for sure.
What I want to know before we even go any deeper, tell us about you. Who are you? Where are you from? And how did you get into real estate?
I am Elizabeth, your friendly Southern California realtor. March is my 3-year anniversary of being a real estate agent.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And prior to that, I've been in education for 18 years. So since I was 22 years old, I have been in early education. So that's like preschool, and then gone into elementary, primary education. I'm an educator, and I chose education because I love to learn. I love to learn new things, and I love to teach. I love to share the knowledge that I have.
That is awesome. Somehow you went from education to real estate. Now, clue us
Yes.
in. What happened to cause that transition?
I grew up in a real estate family. My mom has been a broker for many years. She got her license when I was like in my early, going in from that tween to teen age. And my mom is just such a big go getter. I know it sounds cliche, but she is like a woman boss. She's just always had drive it in her. So seeing that when I was younger, like, oh my gosh, mom does so many things, that was very inspiring. Her and my dad, they had their own brokerage business at a time. When they did have that business, that was kind of like the inkling inside me, like, wow, this is cool. Like, I would love to do this. However, I was in school and I was in college. I was getting my bachelor's degree, and I knew that was like just the beginning. We're Nigerians, and bachelor's degree for in Nigerian families is like graduating from high school. That was my first like inkling. I think I was like 22, 21 at the time, that I was like, wow, this is really cool. I'd love to get into real estate, but I know, let me just keep going to school, getting my degree. I knew I was going to go on to get my teaching credential. I knew I was going to go on to get my master's. And so at the time, I was just like, there was no room for it until about a decade later, I get my first home. I move out to Palm Springs. I teach out there, and it's Palm Springs, California. It's pricey, but there's different cities in that area. Coachella Valley is what it's called, with quite affordable housing at the time. And what happened is I was living out there, and I was living in a condo. I was renting a condo from a principal that worked at one of the schools, and one of the condos went up for sale. And I was downstairs. It was an upstairs condo. I went, I looked at it. I fell in love with it. The price was like, what do I need to do? Like, as much as there was interest into real estate, I never really took a deep dive into what it was. I called my mom and I'm like, Mom, there's this great condo. I think I'm ready to own something. I had this great, job with Palm Springs Unified, teaching second grade. And I told her I'm ready. And my mom was like, okay, well, give me the address, tell me about it. And she kind of walked me through the steps. I didn't end up getting that condo. So that's when I learned about what I was, someone who went shopping for a home without any kind of preparation, and what a cash buyer was or a pre-approved buyer was. I was really behind. So that would be another don't. If you feel like you're ready, the first thing to not do is go shopping. The first thing to do is to find out what you need to do to be able to own. So I didn't get it, of course, but I did get pre-approved. My mom walked me. This is the pre-approval process. She had me talk to her lender. Are there any programs out there for teachers? Which there were not at the time, but there was something called down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. Buying a condo is great, but you could actually get a house and not have to pay HOA fees, which is another thing that I learned about. After someone bought the condo cash, I just started looking. I knew what I was pre-approved for. I started looking for houses this time because I learned that with an HOA, I was pre-approved for less. That HOA fee made me pre-approved for less. If I found a house, I was approved for more. So I ended
Interesting.
up finding this gorgeous house in the desert, just gorgeous. And that was my first purchase in 2017. And that process was like, I liked that. Like when it was over and I closed on this beautiful home and I signed the papers, and I was like, man, I'd love to do that for a living. But I got my house, went right back to teaching.
Very interesting, but you loved it. It sparked something in you.
I did. Yeah. I was
So
like, I'd love to do this full time. Like, this is different.
yeah. So what made you decide to leave teaching officially?
So after that experience, a couple things happened. First, I was like, I'll do it on the side. Everyone that I knew that was doing real estate did it on the side. They had their job and then they had real estate on the side. So I was like, I'll study for the test on the side. As time started going on, that was 2017 when I purchased the home. 2018 came along, 2019 came along. Oh, and I was a landlord for the first time in 2019. So I ended up renting it out 2 years later. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, so again, just with parents that were already doing that. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll just keep it and rent it out. If I never thought like, oh, I'll sell it. I was just like, oh, if I don't want to live it anymore, I'll rent it out, because I have parents that were doing that already. I made my first attempt to study and do the real estate exam, I believe, in 2021. I was an elementary school teacher. People think it's a really easy career. You get summers off, you get winters off, you get, all this time off, but it is a 24-hour a day job. Like, you're always planning for the children. What are they going to learn tomorrow? What do you want them to get out of it? What are you going to do if they're not getting it? I really wanted to learn the real estate business. And I had this option of the time was up. I had I had my time to study, but even if I didn't, I could take the test now. And I just was like, no, I don't want to do it that way. I really want to take everything in. And I'm the type of learner, like I have to be, if I'm focused on something, I need to be focused on it. There can't be like a bunch of other things that are happening at the same time. Something about the role of being a teacher specifically felt like it was time to move on from that.
Interesting.
So in 2022, I decided to buckle down and focus on learning real estate 100%. Like, I sat there, I didn't just sign up for the crash course. I sat and I read all the books and I studied and I took notes and I highlighted and I attended the online classes, and you could go online or in person. Sometimes I was there in person. Sometimes I was there online for each class, which is at least like 3.5 hours. And I was like, I like this. Oh, like reiterating what I learned that day. And so yeah, finally in 2022, I went for it. I took the test, March 2023. I passed the first time.
So now you have your
Yeah.
real estate license. What is it like, the buying process? Like, how do you help clients buy a home?
The biggest thing that I run into when I'm running into buyer clients, and especially it's a first time buyer client, is there's this big fear and apprehension. And I understand it's a huge purchase. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of legal documentation, but that same fear that I was like, "Oh my gosh, I wanna buy a house in 2017." As I was going through the process, it was like, "Oh, this isn't so bad." So I run into that hesitation of, like, this idea that, like, "Oh, I'm gonna be house poor or something's gonna happen, like the house is gonna explode after I buy it, or I'm gonna have home buyer's regret or something." So there's just a lot of apprehension and hesitation, and it's for totally different reasons. And I will tell you, purchasing a home ownership is not as difficult and not as complicated as people might think.
That is really good to know. And I've heard the statistics. I don't know what the percentage is, but they say that a lot of realtors actually have never even purchased their own home. So to have a realtor like you who's been through the process for herself, and now you can help
Yeah.
other people walk through it. What are some additional do's and don'ts of the buying process?
Do not go shopping for a house without getting pre-approved, and here's why. I
Okay.
was in love with that condo, and as soon as I got pre-approved and turned around and I was like, "I want this one," they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're under contract." The do you want to do is you want to get pre-approved. You want to meet with a lender, you want to meet with a realtor. I say with a realtor because a lot of times realtors can connect you with a lender, not just a bank, but a lender who it is their specialty to give to mortgaging homes is their specialty. They know all the programs that are out there. I would say the do, you want to meet with a real estate professional. That could be a realtor. That could be a mortgage lender. A lot of these mortgage lenders have their real estate license as well. So that's the first thing. Then go shopping. As you're going shopping, that's the time to make a plan as well. So I would say don't go in without a plan and without an understanding of what it is that you're looking for and what it is you want from it. Sit down, take some time with yourself. Is this going to be something that I'm going to use to build wealth? Have a plan going forward.
Think that is really key. So the idea of going shopping and falling in love with a home and then calling your mom and saying, I really want this house, that's not the right
Yes.
order. First, you create your team, whether the
Yes.
realtor, the lender.
A realtor that does both, that's amazing,
Perfect.
but you definitely want a lender that specializes in mortgages.
Perfect. So a realtor, a lender, could be a combination,
Mhm.
and get your pre-approval so that way you know how much to shop
Yes.
for.
The reason why it's so important to get pre-approved is because once you do get pre-approved, then you will also know how much you can afford, what mortgage payment you're comfortable with. You'll find out what it looks like. I was super excited when I got pre-approved because I was like, I can afford that condo, but it got swooped up right away, right? Because I could afford it. A lot of people could afford it.
So this time you got pre-approved, you got your realtor and your lender, and then you go
Yes.
shopping. And when you fall in love this time, you can actually say, I do. You can make it work
Yes,
and sign
exactly.
the paperwork and move forward.
Yes, and there's a lot of other reasons too that, if you have a great realtor, they will walk you through the entire process because there is a process, but once you're in that process, you see, oh, it's not that scary. And a great realtor before you buy is going to do a great presentation for you on what to expect in the next steps. Yeah.
So most people think they need 20% down to buy a house. Is that a
Right.
myth or is that true?
That is 100% a myth. You do
Ooh,
not need 20% down. In fact, 20% down was it was also the myth that I believed prior to buying my home. I got my home for 3% down, 3.5% down. Yes, you need as a first-time buyer about 5%, 3 to 5% is the down payment you would need of the purchase price. So whatever the purchase price is, you would need about 3 to 5% of that down payment as a first-time home buyer.
okay. I think, hey,
Yes.
that makes things a lot easier. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but the 20% allows you to avoid PMI. Can you explain what PMI
Yes.
is and why does somebody want to avoid it?
Yes. So PMI is private mortgage insurance. If you're not going to pay the 20% down, you would pay an additional mortgage insurance just to ensure that, again, that you would be making payments. And a lot of times people want to avoid PMI because it is an extra, it factors into your mortgage, what you're going to be paying, almost like a HOA, right? HOA fee goes into your mortgage. However, unlike a HOA fee, it's not increasing as much as an HOA fee can. So I paid private mortgage insurance. It was not, I barely felt it. It was quite small, but most people want to avoid it because it is an additional charge to
Okay.
your monthly mortgage.
Before we cover anything else, is there anything that you want to share about buying, getting pre-approved, and qualifying for a home?
If you have
Okay.
a very knowledgeable realtor, a very knowledgeable lender, they're going to walk you through the steps. And the job of the real estate agent, a lot of people think the job of the real estate agent is just to walk you through beautiful homes and, tell you which one to buy. No, we are just there as a consultant. And once you choose the one that you want, we walk you through the steps to make it as stress-free as possible for you to attain that home that you want.
That is good to know. And I'm
Awesome.
assuming that the job of a realtor is a fun one because you are getting to see all these fabulous houses, but you're not trying to
Yes.
tell
Oh, I
me
love it.
which one to buy. You're simply showing me
Yes.
all of the details, all of the features, the pros, the cons, neighborhoods, school
Yes.
districts, all of that stuff. And I'm the one as a buyer that's making the decision.
Yes, you are. And then I'm guiding you as your realtor through this, like I'm guiding you through the paperwork on writing an offer, the best, most strategic um, offer that is competitive. How do you stand out? I have, not to toot my own horn, but I've won quite a few offers, just being really strategic and making them as clean as possible and really explaining to my clients what does it mean to write a clean and competitive offer. And so that would be my job. And then also, once that offer is accepted, you have things like inspection that you're being guided through by your realtor and your lender as well. For example, if there's things that need to be fixed, is it a safety hazard that needs to be fixed, before you go further within the transaction? So that's what the realtor does. They help you with the fun part, which is shopping and seeing, the beautiful outside of the home, right? But also helping you to know like what's going on within the walls of the home as well.
That is important to know. Now, you touched on something that I want you to elaborate on,
Okay.
and maybe you can give us some do's and don'ts in this regard. But what are the do's and don'ts of selecting a realtor? How do I know which realtor to pick?
The realtor that I would advise you pick is one that really knows their stuff, right? The laws are always changing. We had a huge law change in 2024, 2025-ish regarding um, commission. And everyone thought that it was like commission on like what a realtor was paid. There was actually a law that was changed on the disclosure of the commission between a buyer's agent and a seller's agent to their clients. And then there was that interaction that for years you would know what commission the buyer's party was getting. Now it's something that's private and the laws are always changing around that. It might become public again, or there might be a different way to disclose that and make it public, or who knows? It's always changing. I recommend a real estate agent that is knowledgeable on the changing dynamics of real estate because it's always going to be continuously changing. Someone that always has your best interest. So someone that's not worried about the commission, but someone that is more interested in what is it that you're looking for. They really truly want to know your goals in this, and they're there to help you get to them. And they're there to make sure that it's as stress-free as possible. There's always going to be that stress because it's a huge purchase, but also helping you be as knowledgeable as possible during that process. So, yeah.
That is awesome. That's exactly what would allow the client to feel safe that after they buy
Yes.
their home, they're still happy that they purchased the home and happy that they worked with that particular realtor because
Right.
you remember your realtor. If it's a great experience, you remember your realtor. And if it was a horrible experience,
Yes.
you remember your realtor.
Yes.
And then there may be a chance down the road where you purchase another home and you're likely to go back to that same realtor if you had a great experience. So I
Yeah.
think that's one of the benefits of having a great realtor.
I agree. I mean, even as a realtor, interacting with other realtors, like let's say I'm a seller and I'm selling, on the seller side and I'm interacting with the buyer side, even that we remember, right?
Mm,
So yeah, I think someone that really makes you feel comfortable and you trust within you that they're making sure every step of the way you have knowledge of it. When I sit and do a buyer's consultation or a seller's consultation, I want them to be 100% informed and confident of the decision they're making. And if they're not, and if they're not ready, that's okay too.
that's awesome. So you selected the home, you followed the steps that Elizabeth suggested, okay? And you got pre-approved. You selected a realtor that you trust, that has your best interest at heart and is knowledgeable about the process. And you've selected a lender that is also knowledgeable about the process and has experience. And
Yes.
now you found a property that you really like. What is the next step? Is there escrow? Like, what is the whole closing process? What should a client, especially a first time client, expect?
Go back to one more thing about what you just said about what is a good realtor to do. They show you the comps. They don't care if you are a buyer or a seller. They're showing you the comps and the valuation of the homes in that area. There's two sides. The sellers feel like their home is worth $10 million dollars, and the buyers feel like will always feel that every home is overpriced. So you want to look at a comparative analysis. Your realtor will show you a comparative analysis of the neighborhood and what things are selling for there. So that way, let's go into the do's and don'ts again. Buyers, when you're in that situation, the don't would be don't just throw a price out there. Consult your real estate agent. Ask them, yes, you have your idea of what you're comfortable paying. My don't would be don't try to get the house for as little as possible. Don't just throw a price out there. You want to send an offer that will really catch the seller's eye. Consult with your realtor about, let's see the comparative analysis for what are homes selling for in this area. And that way, especially if it's a competitive situation where there's even two or three others, you want to be the one that stands out.
Okay. All right. I think that's a great point. So that way you at least know what the price should be, what is a reasonable price, and then you
Yeah.
can present the best offer. So you are more likely to get the property than to lose it.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So now
Yes.
we put in an offer and they say, yes, yes, you won, or we prefer you, whatever the reason is, they say yes to you. Then what?
Okay, so here's the fun part. Now we go into contingencies and inspections, right? We have our contingency periods. Those contingency periods are periods to protect you, which is also written in your offer. And what your realtor will explain to you, the typical amount of days for contingencies is about 17 days. And the typical amount of days for a escrow period is about 30 to 60 days. In order to open escrow, you got your offer accepted. Now what you need is something called an EMD, or an earnest money deposit.
Earnest money.
Yes,
Ooh. What do you compare earnest money to?
it is you telling the sellers we're seriously interested in this home. This is our money that we're sending to you to hold on to show you that we're going to do our due diligence during this contingency period to make sure that this home is the home for us.
Okay. I'm serious.
Yeah, so we're going to do our inspections. We're going to hire an inspector. The inspector's going to look, and we'll talk about that in a moment too. My don't for inspections would be don't freak out because you're going to get a big book of things of all the ins and outs of the home. But yes, so do have your earnest money deposit ready. My don't would be, give a 1% earnest money deposit unless it's like a multi-million dollar home. You want to do at least 3% EMD.
3% earnest money deposit.
Yes.
Okay. And you are already giving a 3 to 5% of a down payment.
That earnest money deposit is part of that down payment. So that earnest money deposit that you pay towards it, the balance of it at the close of escrow would be your deposit.
Balance. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good, good,
So
good,
it
good.
comes from your deposit. Yeah.
Awesome.
When I say 3 to 5% earnest money deposit, that is 3%, usually between 1 to 3% earnest money deposit of the purchase price. So yes, so if you're giving a 3% down payment. It would be most of your down payment. But again, that money is protected for you so you can do your due diligence and really decide if this home is for you during the escrow period.
Okay. So where is it protected? And does this lead us into an escrow?
Yes. So earnest money deposit is what opens escrow.
Perfect. Okay. All
Yes.
right. So what is an escrow and how does it work and what do we need to know about it?
So I like to think of escrow as um, almost like a referee, right? There's two sides. There's the buyer side and the seller side. And escrow is making sure that both sides are doing what they need to do for the transaction to be successful. So when that earnest money deposit gets in the hands of escrow, that's where the earnest money deposit is protected into an escrow account. It is not with the seller side. It is not with the buyer side. It's almost like mediation,
Okay.
right? So this money is put in this account. This shows that they are serious about wanting to buy it. Sellers are waiting for inspections to be done. So they're opening the house up for an inspector to come in and look at the ins and the outs of the home. And escrow is making sure that each deadline is being met. So it's like the communication between the two parties.
Okay. A referee. Got
Yeah,
it.
I know. Maybe that was a bad way to
I
put it.
think that is a great analogy. They are in the middle. They are neutral. I'm not on your side. I'm
Yes.
not on your side. And hopefully
Yeah.
it's a good referee. No, you called that play wrong. That is not the kind of referee. It's very, very neutral.
They're making sure disclosures are getting sent. So, for example, the ins and outs of that house need to be known. What the seller knows needs to be disclosed to the buyer. So they're making sure that all of those things are being done according to what is in the offer agreement, what is in that offer that got accepted. And in that offer agreement is every detail that escrow is going to need to make sure everything happens when it needs to happen.
Okay. Very cool. Now the home is
Yeah.
purchased. We've gone from buying a house to the whole building it out, the escrow, signing the paperwork. You mentioned inspection. Did you want to give us any additional do's and don'ts in regards to inspection before we move into
Yes.
equity and building wealth?
Yes. Okay. So don't. My don't is don't freak out when inspection is complete and you get that long email or that thick packet of what the ins and outs of the home. The big things that you want to pay attention to during inspection is what is considered a hazard. What is something that needs to be done and fixed right away? That's where your negotiating power comes in as the buyer during the escrow period. So there's a lot of things that can be done. If there's a lot of things that haven't been maintained well in the home and the buyer doesn't want to put money in that, they can negotiate money being put into that by the seller. They can negotiate the seller fixing that before they go forward. So there's that extension on the contingency period. So don't freak out when you get that. That is there to help you. Also, don't expect everything, even if it's a new build. Yeah, even if it's new build, to be absolutely perfect. Just know that if it's not done to your liking and you see it as something that might be a detriment more than a benefit, that is your time to pull out.
You can negotiate
Yes.
or you can walk away.
Yes. So don't freak out. Do negotiate. It
Okay.
can always be negotiated for your benefit.
Okay.
And
And
on both
I'm
sides.
thinking
On both sides.
on both sides. Okay. And I'm thinking too, in regards to the whole falling in love with the house, if there's something you're not happy about, you still want to be willing to and able to walk away.
I
Am I wrong?
agree. I agree. You know what? That is so powerful, like with anything and everything in life. You don't want to ever give anything so much power other than God, and God loves us with so much, so we're safe there. But you don't want to ever give anything so much power in your life that it would absolutely destroy you if you don't get the outcome that you desire. Because there's always something out there better that's waiting for you. Sometimes it's just the sign that it's just not it. I'm someone who has fallen out of a lot of escrows on both sides just because that's where it was discovered that it just wasn't the right fit, or the money being put forth to fix certain things wouldn't be worth it, or maybe that was just a sign for them that they were looking for something else. So I would say get excited about the outcome, but don't let the outcome be the end all be all to you. be okay with walking away. And on the seller side, be okay with the buyer walking away because that gives room for the right buyer to come.
Very good point. Too many people want to be like handcuffed to the first house that they fell in love with.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you drilling into that. Now, what happens when they have this home and they've either grown into the home or they've grown older and it's time for them to leave, either goodbye to life here on earth or to move to something else? What does that look like to bounce?
Yeah, that would say that this is like my favorite part of it, right? The house is yours. You've lived there for a while. My favorite part to share with people is like your body, your home needs to be maintained. Move it or lose it. Your muscles, you have to exercise it. Same thing with your home. Maintain it or lose it or deal with the consequences of it at the end. If you want
Mm,
to maintain that value in your home, you're constantly doing what it takes. One of the parts of having the plan is having the plan on how you're going to maintain that home, right? So making sure that you're taking care of your air conditioning system. If you have an air conditioning system, you're making sure your plumbing is taken care of, making sure your water heater, you're getting your water heater things checked on time. You're keeping your house up to date on the outside. You don't necessarily need to remodel it or revamp it, but if you live by the water, a lot of times there's peeling of the paint. So having a maintenance plan, what are things you are going to do to keep and upkeep and maintain the integrity of your property? Because this, just like our body is our investment, so is our home, right? So we want to do what it takes to maintain it.
So I love that you brought this up because as a financial coach, I find that people rarely plan for even for buying their home. They're not
Right.
necessarily putting money away right now, but that's something that if they desire to own a home, it is doable even in California. But you
Yes.
do need to put money aside in an account where it's growing. So when the time is right, you have that money for a down payment. You have the
Hmm.
earnest money. And you just mentioned something, budget and plan for maintenance of your home
Hmm.
because that is key. It's almost like buying a car and you don't budget for an oil change or to put gas in it. There are certain
Yes.
things in a home that require additional money, additional upkeep. And yay,
Right.
congratulations, you got into the home. With that comes problems. Good problems,
Hmm.
yes, but still problems that you need to budget financially to be able to maintain so that your home continues to be a blessing and it doesn't turn into the lovely house you talk about, right? I just bought a lovely property into
Yeah.
this rundown old thing. It's only rundown and old because you didn't budget to maintain the paint and the AC and
Yeah.
the flooring and the exterior upkeep and landscape.
A lot of people let their lawns go, and lawns are really important. This process is a time to really know how you're going to maintain things, and it doesn't take as much as people think.
Yeah. I say it's like Christmas. Christmas comes on December 25th. So you can literally right now start budgeting for it. What is your budget for Christmas? What
Right,
did you spend
exactly.
last year on Christmas? Do you want it to be about the same? So you can divide by however many months remain and set that money aside. The same with a home repair. If you know that your home is going to need a roof repair in a few years, start saving that money, setting it aside, a sinking fund.
Mhm.
If you need to redo the plumbing, pipes, those kinds of things need replacement,
Mhm.
cleaning out, right? Start putting
Yes.
the money aside for that stuff.
Mhm.
So, yes, it's something that people rarely think about, but financial planning is so critical. Anything else that you want to talk about as far as transitioning from owning the home and benefiting from the equity in the home?
Do maintain your home. Also, do what I would recommend is putting your home in a trust. If it's something that you want to pass on to your children, to your grandchildren, to a family member, maybe you don't have children, a sibling, someone in your family, you do want to put it in a trust. God forbid something happened that you do not plan for and you're not here anymore. You don't want it to go into the hands of probate, which is pretty much like a government sale, right? They sell it, the money goes back to them. Or the money is distributed as they see fit. You want it to, in order to pass it out, here we go with the plan again. You want to put it in a trust, a will, and testament, something that states who would be the owner of it if God forbid something was to happen to you as the owner. And yeah, so there's different ways that you can do that as well. And you're passing on that generational wealth. Going back a little bit when it comes to equity, there's different things that increase equity. You maintaining the home. In California, values increase about 5% in a year, every year anyway. Pay your mortgage on time. That builds your equity. Paying your mortgage, you're literally paying yourself back. You're paying yourself rather than like when you're paying rent, you're paying someone else's mortgage. Paying your mortgage on time is a way to build equity. And then if you want to build your real estate portfolio, taking that equity, keeping an eye on your equity, keeping in continuous contact with your mortgage company, you can always refinance your home if you want to keep it. Let's say you want to build your real estate portfolio into something huge. As it grows over years, maybe in 5 years' time, you'll use that equity to buy another property or a bigger property. Or maybe if you have a small condo right now and you'd like to move into something bigger, you use that equity that you're building by paying yourself by that 3 to 5% valuation every year to purchase your next home. So yeah.
I know that there's something that I was told when I was looking to purchase property a long time ago. I was told, don't buy a foreclosure. And that was one of the best
Well,
advices that
yeah.
I ever received because at that time, a recent college grad, everybody says, buy a home, don't waste money on an apartment. But some wise older couple shared that yes, you want to buy a home, but you don't want to buy a foreclosure. So if you're not financially ready for a home and the responsibilities that come with it, we talked about the maintenance, things break down in a home. Unexpected
Hmm.
things are required. I know when I purchased this home, even
Hmm.
after getting an inspection, the inspection didn't reveal that the roof was leaking everywhere. Thankfully, I manage money very well, and
Right.
I knew to not purchase a home without having an emergency fund because you're literally asking for a problem. What can go wrong will go wrong. They call it Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
And if you purchase a home that you really truly can't afford, what can go wrong will absolutely go wrong. You want
Yeah.
your home to be a blessing, an absolute blessing.
Yes.
And the way it's going to be a blessing is if you have guardrails between you and the home so that way you're not constantly bumping up against making the mortgage payment. You want a bit of a
Right.
buffer so you can live and enjoy life and enjoy your
Yeah.
home and you're not constantly regretting it. Like I'm pouring everything into this home. You want to
Hmm.
continue to enjoy it. So that's one of the financial coaching advice I would add, Elizabeth, to what you're saying with your do's and don'ts is to make sure that you are financially prepared, not just to meet the mortgage, but you have a sinking fund and an emergency fund for the
Hmm.
home maintenance that is bound to come up for the
Yeah,
home.
I agree. There are other things you can utilize too, like your home insurance that you have. Or if you rent out your home, I know what really helped me. My plumbing like went bad when I was renting my home out. It burst. And so I had landlord insurance, thank goodness, and that really helped. So looking into insurance programs and your warranty programs, and maybe that can be a way for you to put money aside, going in and getting a really good home warranty and paying for that every year and making sure you're going over the fine print of what does it cover, because there are home warranties that cover plumbing, and talking to them and saying, what would be the situation that you wouldn't cover and how can I get that covered? Sometimes paying that home warranty every month is a way to really ensure that. I had a great home warranty that because I had an older air conditioning unit. It's pretty old. It was built in 1965. And so the unit that was added, I believe in the 80s, and I had such great home warranty provided that I was paying like $75 a month on. But if the AC went out, they would replace it if I needed a brand new AC. So those are also ways that, because some people might say, well, I don't have money saved up for if plumbing goes out, or if I don't feel like I have enough, I might only have this much saved. There's other things you can utilize, such as home insurance. What do you cover? What are things that you can do to protect me if this happens, if that happens? And then your warranty. And sometimes paying that $75, $100 a month is that extra cushion safety net you need, that you might not even need to use the savings, and you can go on your cruise.
Very, very good. Thank you so much for elaborating on that, Elizabeth. So I want to ask you,
Yeah.
what would you like the listeners to do after listening to you today?
I'm really big with trusting my gut and trusting how I feel about things and not doubting, even when you get that good feeling about something. When I purchased my home in 2017, it was not the right time. But this pertaining to real estate is when you're feeling in your soul and in your heart that you're ready. And the best way to really be ready and to not be wrong about that inkling and feeling to be ready is that when you even have that desire, that curiosity, is start taking steps forward towards it. And that can even just be learning the process. What is the process? What would I need? You might have a friend that's a realtor. You have me, you have my social media handles. Reach out to me, DM me. What would be the step that I need to take to get to what it is that I'm feeling that I'm ready for? And the right time, I say, is when you're ready, when you're feeling like it's time. God will guide you the rest of the way.
I love it. And Elizabeth, you are actually visible in our resource directory for Plant Your Money Seeds. Anyone that has purchased the book, Plant Your Money Seeds, in the back of the book, you will see a QR code for resource directory where we have advertisements of our realtors and other professionals that you can reach out to. And Elizabeth Oluwakemi is on there. You can scan the QR code and get her contact information, and it will also be in the show notes. Elizabeth, with all the focus being on buyers and first-time buyers, do you have any do's and don'ts for sellers in this housing market?
Yes. So, a couple of things. So, I will say for sellers in this housing market, don't rebuild or 100% fully upgrade your home with the desire to get more money out of it. It's not necessary. So, one of the things we did talk about was maintaining. Maintenance is really important. And the reason why I say that is sometimes a lot of people aren't necessarily looking for a perfect turnkey home. They are looking for a home that they can put their own touch into as well. So sometimes if you are looking to get more out of the home, all you need to do is just maintain it well, take care of it. Do things to make it very presentable for the sale, cleaning the walls, maybe painting the walls a certain color or repairing a cabinet. But don't feel the need to 100% fully I'm going to 100% upgrade this home and get more bang for my buck. It may make it more appealing to some, but it may make it not so appealing for others, especially if you are like in a historic area. Some people might be going to that area for that older appeal.
That is good to know. Yeah, the tendency of upgrading the house, but you're upgrading the house for you and you're not staying there anymore.
Yes.
You might as well make it look
Yes.
presentable, as you said, so that way
Mhm.
other people who come in, they can envision what it would look like when they move in and when they live there. It won't necessarily be what you would like it to look like. You're telling us do not remodel the home for yourself because you are moving out.
Yes, if you're leaving, there's no need to do what you think someone else wants. You cannot read their mind. And I do work with a lot of clients that are weary of things like that. Like, oh, I would like it, but they put the pool in. Or they even get weary of flips. Not
Mm.
like if a home was flipped or if something was added, then you have to go through the whole thing of providing those permits. You're going to have a lot of people that are even weary to even look if it was permitted or not. So if you feel like, no, I want to make sure I'm selling a turnkey house, that's what I care about. I don't care, what anyone else wants, even though I'm leaving. But sometimes people will make the mistake of going, I'm going to turn it into the house I would want. And that actually scares off a lot of buyers because then they have to do work to undo the work you did.
Yeah, and they just spent
Yeah.
a lot of money buying the house. Now they've got to spend more money undoing the stuff that you did that they didn't want in the
Right.
house in the first place. All
Yeah.
right. All
Just
of
make it
that
look
was
clean and presentable.
very, very, very helpful. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for spending
Oh,
time with us and talking all about real estate and housing and buying a house and building in the house that you purchase and then bouncing with the equity. What do you do and how do you protect it for the next generation? And thank you, listeners, for spending this time with me. If something in today's conversation spoke to you, don't just listen. Take one action, one small step, one seed planted, because that's how transformation begins. I am Auntie Foluke with Hand in Hand Consulting. Today, plan tomorrow.